This is the fourth industrial revolution. I was an early participant and following the market adoption. And so I was of the opinion that Bitcoin or something like it was inevitable and the future. And the question is just how long will it take to reach enough critical mass to pick up that speed to get to escape velocity. And so it wasn't really until 2012 where I was like, okay, this is happening now. This is really starting to take off. And I can see the entire sort of road ahead. I better drop everything I'm doing to work solely in this space. And so I was a very early miner. I was starting a new company every, call it 45 to 60 days. I was chairman of the Mastercoin Foundation, where we invented the ICO, the first ever ICO. I was founder of Blockchain Capital, the first venture capital fund in the space that funded all the Coinbases, Krakens, BitGos, and most of the early industry. That's on its fifth fund, anchored by Visa and PayPal. $300 million fifth fund. It's one of the best performing venture funds of all time. I was co-founder of Tether. We invented the stable coin, created the US digital dollar that's doing, call it $50 trillion a year in transactional volume right now. And this is where all the central bank digital currency stuff is coming from. Started the first crypto bank in the world, created the first digital security token, BCAP, recognizing how all the world's stocks and bonds will eventually settle over this technology. And there's 100 or 200 other things that I've done in the field, but I don't think we need to go too far down that rabbit hole. You have to go back to my childhood. I grew up playing video games like a lot of people have. And when the internet really started to emerge, our video games eventually became networked. And you were able to create persistent worlds or virtual countries. They called them massively multiplayer games. You may have heard of World of Warcraft or Second Life, any of these things. And I was one of the first people to recognize that just because something was intangible didn't make it less valuable, that people were willing to buy and sell the digital currency or the digital assets that existed in these virtual countries, these persistent worlds. And so I became the main market maker in the world, buying and selling the digital currencies across thousands of different game servers, or think of them as small virtual nations, some of which not that small, but I did that for about a decade. So I got into digital currency in the late 90s. We built up a team of about 400,000 people, principally in China, that would play these games professionally to mine those currencies. We were PayPal's largest merchant for years. We were instrumental in the launching of Alipay. And so I'm not sure there was any other path for me. It was inevitable that I would be an active participant in this field, considering. Remember, the crypto community is now 200-300 million people, tens of millions of Americans. They're fairly well resourced. They've got access to capital, which matters in elections. And generally, we're single issue voters. We don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you're for creating a better future, a future that can work for all of us, a future that can work for everybody, and you're forward thinking, you're probably going to get the support of this community. We're really single issue voters. And so what we just saw in this infrastructure bill, and members of the House and Senate that had never done any research, really have no understanding of what this technology is. We can agree to disagree, but I do have a problem with elected officials voting on things that are going to affect our collective future without having done any work. And that's what we saw a lot of in that sense. Like, well, you're reckless. You're trying to cause massive harm to the people without actually having done any research. This is really important stuff for our collective future. The fate of the United States in many ways is going to be impacted by this. And there's going to be winners and losers, and our governments and our regulators and our elected officials have a role to play in this. And I hope they make sensible decisions that supports our collective well-being. What Bitcoin is really doing from a philosophical perspective is it's bringing accountability, back in places where it's been severely lacking. It's bringing transparency to, an opaque sort of market. And it's democratizing opportunity so that everyone in the world has access, and it's democratizing the utility, the tools. 4 to 4.5 billion people on the planet are on or underbanked. The majority of the population of the world do not have financial tools. And, in this day and age, if you were gonna put together Maslow's hierarchy of needs today, you'd say that having a device with a connection and financial tools would be essential to, the pursuit of happiness. And so, and there's no one to blame here. We're not here to judge, right? Take a look at banks. I'm not against the banks. I'm not against central banks. I'm for everyone. I'm trying to figure out, how do we collectively win? How do we create all-win situations? And again, it's not single-threaded. Again, I don't think the whole world is going to just run on Bitcoin in the future. It's a possibility, but I think it's unlikely. There's going to be many systems, including government-run systems, central banking-run systems. We're still going to need credit to do a lot of things, and these systems are well suited for it. And so I think it's a wonderful thing. Well, you can't stop it, but you can impact its presence in your country.